Okay, so yesterday we talked about zero pairs and what they are, and we talked about when a positive number and a negative number combine to equal 0, that's called a zero pair. So 4 positives and 4 negatives combine to equal 0. 1 positive, 1 negative combines to equal 0. Talked about that combining to equal 0. That's going to be very helpful for us when we are doing equations. Okay? So, x minus 3 equals 5 was the equation that we looked at yesterday. And then we needed to talk about 2 important bits of info to solve equations. Okay? So, the first thing is the x, or whatever variable it is, it could be a j, a q, a p, whatever, needs to equal something. It must equal some number. It's got to be alone and equaling something. Okay, and the second thing that we needed to remember, important piece of information, is keep it equal. We got to keep it equal. So if you do or change something on one side of the equation, you have to do or change the exact same thing on the other side of the equation. So keep it equal. Those are important pieces of information we used yesterday. Then, if we turn to page 99, okay, first of all I want to write what topic this is, and this is EE7, and that is I can solve equations. And we do that with modeling. Okay? Now, yesterday, we used our big maths and our algebra tiles to take a look at this. We said x minus 3, negative 3, equals 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 positive. And that was the problem we had. And we tried a lot of different things to try and figure that out. We tried, oh, well, if we just, getting that x alone, if we just subtract 3, then we'll have x alone, but then we couldn't subtract 3 negatives here without subtracting 3 negatives here, and we didn't have any negatives there. So we spent a lot of time thinking about that and trying to figure it out. So what we did was, we finally figured out that we could add 3 positives here, and that would make our 0 pairs. And if we have 0 pairs, then they're just 0. And it doesn't change anything other than it does leave that x by itself. Okay, so we have those 0 pairs, we have x by itself. But, as we said, we can't add 3 to one side without adding 3 to another side, so we had to add 3 over here, and we eventually ended up with x all alone equaling 8. And that was our problem yesterday. Okay? We're going to take a look at another one. X plus 4 equals 5. So we have an x, we have 4 positive, equals 5 positive. Okay? Now this one you'll notice is different. Notice there's positives on this side and positives on this side. So in this case we can just subtract the 4 positives, and then we can just subtract 4 positives over here. Because there are positives on each side, we can just subtract them. And then that leaves us with x equals 1, or x equals 1. Okay? So notice the difference there. That doesn't work here because it's negatives and positives and they're not the same thing. But when it's positives and positives, just doing the subtraction would work. Okay? So let's look at some examples similar to how you'll be doing them on your homework. Okay, so we have x minus 8 equals 3. So on our homework mat, which is these that we've drawn out for you, you're going to draw your little x box, and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 negatives, because we have 8 negatives, equals, on this side, 3 positives. Okay. Now again, please notice, negatives and positives are not the same thing. So when I'm trying to get x by itself, I can't just say, oh, I'm going to subtract these negatives. Because there's no negatives over here to subtract. I have to get creative. And how do I get creative? What do I do? Allie? Yeah. If I add 8 positives in there, they will combine with the negatives to make 0 pairs. So these make 0 pairs. But because I added 8 here, I must add 8 on the other side. So I add 8 on both sides, so I'm going to add 8 here. Okay, so that will give me x all alone, because all of these 0 pairs, right, have gone away. Now I just have x, and then I have 1, 2, 3 original, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positives that I added, so that ends up being x equals 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay? Okay? So, again, that's the difficult one. It's where we have to get creative and make those 0 pairs. Okay, now the bottom one, x plus 2 equals 4. So we have x, and we have 2 positives equal to 4 positives. So again, our goal in all of this is always to get x alone to equal something. Get x alone to equal something. If I have positives and positives, then I can just subtract. So x, I want to get rid of these 2 positives, so I just subtract them. Okay? Because I subtracted 2 positives on this side, I have to subtract 2 positives on this side. So I'm subtracting 2 positives on each side. So that would be x equals 2. X equals 2. Any questions? We good? Okay.